What's up, guys? It's your boy Dark Sage back with another video, and today we finna be doing what if Deku had Rui's powers. But before we get into the video, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, because it'll help the young dude out. But we won't get into that. So let's get into the video. So we start this video off with Inko giving birth to two children. One of them named Izumi and the other one named Izuku. Izuku and Izumi never seemed to really get along, even from birth. Anytime they saw each other, they would try to fight and pick on each other. Until the day that Deku and Izumi went to the quirk doctor. Inko was always happy along with Hiyashi. Hiyashi was never really a troublesome person until the day they all found out that Deku was quirkless. And quirkless people, they're treated pretty badly. And so once they find this out, Izumi takes this as the perfect chance to crack a joke and make fun of her brother. She says, "Turns out you're just a quirkless, powerless loser, Deku." And when the doctor says that Deku's quirkless, Inko looks at Deku with disgust on her face. And she's like, "How did I give birth to such a useless being? Ugh, so disgusting." And she says, "Let's go." And they go home. And all of this time, Deku has been sad because he has no quirk. And he knows what's going to happen to him. Because quirkless people have a system in this world. They're usually injected with something and they fall into a sickness and then they die. And so Inko ends up taking him to another doctor. And the doctor says, "Is he quirkless?" Inko says, "Of course he is. Why else would I be here? Hurry up and do this so we can get it over with." And the doctors eject Deku with a poison that's supposed to kill him. And seemingly Deku dies. Once Inko and fucking Izumi go home, they tell Hiyashi that Deku was a quirkless loser. And Hiyashi basically says, "Did you get rid of him?" And Inko says, "Of course I did. There's no point in him staying here. Fucking loser. He's dead now." And so once Izumi goes back to school, she tells all of her friends. And they're basically all talking about how Deku was so useless and he was never really able to do anything. Because he's, well, useless shit. But we're gonna have a time skip of 3 years. And now Izumi is 7. And, well, she's in, what grade was she in? Fuck. 3rd grade. She's in 3rd grade. And the topic of Izuku comes up. And Izumi says, "Why are you talking about him? It's not like he was ever good at anything, really. We always just used to fight. There's no point in even talking about that now." And once school comes to an end, Izumi goes home. And when she gets in, she sees a boy that looks exactly like Rui. But she says, "Mom, Dad, there's somebody in the house." And Deku looks at them and he says, "Wow, you don't remember your own baby boy." And they all look at Deku and say, "Izuku, what the hell are you doing here? You're supposed to be dead." And Deku says, "Yeah, that's supposed to be true. If only I wasn't too good for that. If only I wasn't a demon. Flashback in this bitch. Once Deku was ejected with the poison, Deku didn't die. He only passed out. But in that small time that he passed out, it was 3 years. And in this time, Deku went to hell. And he saw a young boy. And the young boy says, "Hi, my name is Rui. And I've been looking for a successor. And I think I've just found him." And from that moment forward, Rui started training Deku. And so once the 3 years was up, Deku had unlocked 90% of Rui's power. But when he gets to 100%, it'll be, well, bad. Because that means he's either extremely pissed off or he's pushing his limits. But we won't get into that right now. Hey, hold on, y'all. Yeah. End of flashback. But, anyways, once they all talk about how Deku's supposed to be dead, Deku explains what happened to him. And they all think this is even worse because he's a demon. And we'll say Izumi has, I don't know, an ice quirk. No, I got it quite. Izumi, she has a rubber quirk. Yeah, she's like Luffy, but like a million times weaker. So she stretches out and she goes to grab Deku, but Deku would form a web, and Izumi would just think she can punch straight through the web. But when she does this, her arm is immediately cut off. And Izumi screams, but she withdraws her arm. Because, like, yeah, she's rubber. She reattached. But, Deku says, "You're no longer of use to me. I should kill you all now for what you've done. See, my life was never easy. Not even at 4 years old. Mother, you always wanted a girl. And so you disrespected me anytime you could. And Izumi, you always fought with me because even when I was right, you tried to disrespect me and put me down because Mom always had your side. She was always by you. She took up for you anytime that you did something. But when I slipped up, I could have been killed. And she'd have sat there, watched, and laughed. All because I was a boy. And Dad, you never did anything because you're a simp. You're a fucking simp." And Hiyashi looks at this nigga Deku. And Inko's like, "Damn, Hiyashi, is that true? You really a simp?" And Hiyashi says, "No, I'm not. I'm no simp. That's impossible." And Deku says, "So you've been buying all this shit from my mom, and you've been sucking her dick, and you know simp? Man, fuck out of here." But yeah, as I was saying, all of you are some hoes, and if you try to disrespect me again, I'll be forced to kill you, and I won't regret it. I promise." And Inko and Izumi look at Deku, and they both laugh. Izumi's arm is still bleeding, but like she's slowly healing. And they're all like, "What are you really gonna do?" Like that attack was just it wasn't even enough to do significant damage. Like, look, her arm is already in pair. And Deku says, "So you'd rather me kill you?" And Deku's bloodlust, it starts showing. And there's a aura around Deku that sends a message to all of them that lets them know if he really wanted to, he could kill Izumi at any time. And they all stop laughing, and Izumi pees her pants because, I mean, she's a bitch. But Deku is basically like, anyways, I'm gonna be leaving. And they say, where are you going? And Deku says, I'm going to UA High School. And Inko says, but you're only, what, 7, 8 years old at most. There's no way in hell you can get into that school. And I'm your mother. You're supposed to do what I say. And Deku says, fight me for it. And Inko says, wait, what? Fight you for it? What are you talking about? And Deku says, fight me and I'll be your slave. If you lose, then you die. Hold on, y'all. Yep. But Deku, he basically looks at Inko, and Inko says, I'm not finna let no little kid boss me around like he's something. So she rushes Deku, and Deku says, so you've chosen the path of death. I see. And he sends 5 webs at Inko, and he basically dissects her with those webs. Inko's body is mangled, and she's dead. And while Izumi and fucking Hiyashi are in horror of what they just saw, Hiyashi goes to protect his daughter. And Deku says, if either one of you get in my way, ever, I promise you'll meet the same fate as your mother, Izumi, and your wife, Hiyashi. And he walks out. Fast forward a day, Deku has arrived at fucking UA. And Deku goes in, and everybody's looking at him because, I mean, he's a kid. And they're all like, who's this kid? He looks weird. And Deku's still wearing, like, his fucking kimono, you know. But Nezu sees him, and he says, excuse me, are you lost? And Deku says, no, I'm not. I'd like to enroll here. And Nezu says, wait, what? Aren't you like 8 years old? And Deku says, yeah, but I'm pretty smart. And I could probably defeat anybody here, including All Might. And everybody hears this and they start laughing. But this is when Deku would show all of his bloodlust. And they would all immediately shut up because, like, that nigga evil. But Deku, he says, yeah, I'd like to enroll. And Nezu agrees. So Deku goes through a pretty hard test. He has to defeat 20 0-pointers. And he has to calculate rocket science. And so Deku does this shit because I don't feel like getting into it. And Nezu sees that Deku is borderline a genius. And so Nezu says, well, you're in UA. How did you get this smart, kid? What's your quirk? And Deku says, yeah, y'all, I'm back. But, yeah. So Deku gets into UA. And, shit, he starts his first day tomorrow. Fast forward to tomorrow. Deku is basically sitting in class. And he's thinking to himself, should I have really killed my mother? What was the point in that, really? I really don't know. But that doesn't matter right now. My initial goal is to take over this world and to destroy anybody that thinks they have power. I'll show them just how powerless they are. But I can't start until I finish this school, as they call it. And so, once the class starts, fucking, we'll give him some random teacher. Everybody in the class is making fun of him. And they're all like, look at this little small fry. I don't even know how he got in. Probably got in on recommendation. Somebody probably felt bad for him. And so the teacher says, all right, everybody, go outside. We're about to start this fucking training exercise. You're all gonna have to fight. And Deku says, excuse me, teacher. Can everybody fight me? And the teacher looks at Deku and he says, are you sure? And Deku says, yes, I am. And so they all go outside and Deku says, come at me. And they all run towards Deku, flashing their quirks. Deku creates, we'll say, a web sword. And he on their ass. He hits one kid in the face with the sword and then kicks the sword at another kid. Then he punches the kid in the stomach and throws him towards like 5 other kids. And basically, he's wrecking them like Madara in this bitch. But once they're all done with that, they all look at Deku like he's a monster. Because Deku didn't hold back. He was breaking kids' fucking limbs. And he was going for the kill. But he knew, like, he couldn't kill them. So he just tried to give them enough pain so that they thought that they were going to die. So everybody basically went to Recovery Girl. And Nezu calls Deku into the fucking principal's office. And All Might is there. And All Might says, kid, what the hell were you thinking? And Deku says, All Might, why are you screaming at me? And All Might says, because you sent almost all of your classmates to the infirmary. You could have killed them, for God's sake. And Deku says, so? What if I killed you? And All Might says, you couldn't, kid. You're too weak. And this is when Deku would teleport behind All Might and stick his sword near All Might's fucking back. And he says, say that again and you'll die. And Nezu also says, Deku, that's not the only reason that we called you here. We know what you did to your mother. And we know about your origin. You were quirkless. And Deku says, of course I was. Why do you think I look like this? No normal kid would look like this. They tried to kill me. And I went to hell. And I gained immense power. And now I'm here. And Nezu says, we'll have to send you to prison. And Deku says, wait, what? Prison? For what? The bitch attacked me. And All Might says, you didn't have to kill her. And he elbows Izuku or Deku through the fucking wall. And Deku goes flying. And he coughs up a little bit of blood. And Deku crash lands into a fucking wall. And he says, All Might, you're gonna die. Right here, right now. And his eyes go red. And his fucking hands, they start turning red. And Deku's strings, they also start turning red. And almost like, what the fuck's going on? And Deku says, I'm on your ass, nigga. And he rushes All Might. He punches him in the face. And he ties his fucking strings around All Might's throat. And he says, die. And he pulls up. And All Might's head, it comes off his body. Clean than a bitch. And Deku says, wow, look at that. The famous All Might, dead. And Deku starts fucking, he basically teleports away. And he passes out. But Deku is found, we'll say he's found by All For One. Why not? And All For One says, look at this kid. He looks pretty weird. He probably has a good quirk. I'll take him back and experiment on him. But that'll be safe for another part, because I'm going to end it off here. Make sure you guys fucking comment and tell me what y'all want next, because this was only a filler what if. Because tomorrow, I'm going to start back on my Naruto shit. But, bye.